This interview is brought to you by OKCoin Crypto Exchange, where you can buy, sell, and trade your favorite cryptocurrencies, and you don't have to pay high fees. OKCoin charges low fees, the lowest in the industry. You can also stake your crypto and keep 100% of the rewards. OKCoin does not charge any fees when it comes to staking. In fact, it is the only exchange where you can buy, sell, and trade Miami Coin and also stake Miami Coin at a high APY, currently at 280%. OKCoin also has a great referral program that if you refer a friend, you guys can split $100 in Bitcoin. So be sure to sign up with OKCoin, link in the description. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto channel, your home for crypto news and interviews. With me today is Chad Harris, who's the Chief Executive Officer at Riot Whinstone US. Chad, great to have you on.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. It's, this is an exciting time. I love talking, I love talking about our business, and I love talking about, how this industry is fast changing.
Well, you're certainly one of the leading miners in the industry, or as far as facility. I've been reporting about Whinstone for years, hearing about the world's biggest mining farm being built in Rockdale, Texas. So it's really cool to be speaking with you today.
No, absolutely.
Let's start with your background. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I'm originally was born and raised in California, moved all over the country. And prior to coming to Rockdale, Texas, I lived in New Orleans, Louisiana. And so it's a great, wonderful place to live. I raised both of my sons there, and then realized that if I wanted to build infrastructure, it was going to be in Texas and not New Orleans.
Go big or go home, Texas.
Go big or go home. That's exactly it.
Tell us about what was your first encounter with Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency, and do you hold it in your portfolio?
So that's a great question, because my early involvement was when my youngest son, Ashton Harris, who is actually Whinstone's CTO, and the whole reason I got into cryptocurrency was buying Bitcoin with money orders, like in 2013.
Wow.
Right, 2014, and he was in middle school or maybe ninth grade, eighth or ninth grade, and he'd be like, "Hey, give me some more money." I was like, "You have lost your mind, right? No, give me $1,000, right?" And so he would go to the store, right, to buy something, and I'd give him cash. He'd be like, "Oh, I don't know what to do with the money." And so he would harness that cash, and then, eventually he would buy cryptocurrency. And what is interesting, as we joke, is he bought a car part one day. He had an Audi, and he bought some tune for it. And I think he paid $800, and he used Bitcoin to buy it. And later he could have purchased that car, 5 times over, right? So it's a old pizza story, right? It's the same thing. So, but and as far as holding Bitcoin, we had to make, or personally, there was a group of 4 of us that started this company, and just prior to coming here, we had to make a really difficult decision. And we had to trade all of our Bitcoin and spend every last dollar we had to get here to Rockdale, Texas.
Wow. So you made a big bet, essentially, let's sell all our Bitcoin, grab the cash, and go build this company, which, if I'm not mistaken, the report said the largest Bitcoin mining facility in North America. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Whinstone, we're located in Rockdale, Texas. We're on 100 acres. We're on a 33,000 acre private facility. And we are the largest facility by metered capacity, which is 750 megawatts at our interconnect. And currently, the construction that is built is, we have 300 megawatts that's complete. And after, you had mentioned, obviously, that Riot purchased Whinstone this year. And shortly after the announcements of the acquisition, we then started a 400 megawatt expansion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Massive facility. And is there a particular reason why you chose Rockdale, or that was the most convenient, and or maybe electricity costs were low?
So there's our story is so bizarre, right? So our story starts at Chipotle over an $8 burrito. Lots of people have heard it, right? We talk and we joke about it, and it goes from an $8 burrito at a Chipotle to a letter of intent to purchase Huddle Ranch in Pyote, Texas. And on July 8th, 2019, that offer was rescinded by the seller. And on July 10th, 2019, I read the article, Hard Luck Town bet on Bitcoin and lost in Wired Magazine. And on July 13th, we showed up here. We didn't know what we were going to do, but we showed up here because we figured this was the place. It had an excessive amount of power that wasn't being used. And we slowly but surely chipped away at, acquiring a lease here and then building our infrastructure.
Wow. So talk about the early days of getting the equipment, and then you can tell us about the type of equipment you're using and scaling it from, startup to what it is now.
Yeah, and it is. It's interesting, right? So just like everybody, and like I'm on Twitter all the time, and I post pictures of our progress and I make videos. One, because I like educating people on people get confused on what we're actually doing. So I'm like, hey, what's the best way? I'll show them with pictures and videos. And in the early days, we're just like everyone else. We had one miner, and then we had 3, then we had 6, then we had 30, then 100, then 600. And when we got to like the 100-ish, we were like, we have a problem. We have a problem with power. We have a problem with heat. And then the 600 show up. I was like, no, we got a real problem, right? And these were all S9s, and this is 2018, 2017, 2018. And so we actually constructed a rack out of 2x4s. What's the mother of all invention, right? Being broke, right? I mean, that's the best way to describe it. So we built and there's pictures all over the internet and videos of what our racking system now is, that 20 feet high, shiny, silvery system. We built and refined it with wood. We built it out of 2x4s originally in our testing lab in New Orleans. And so we would test widths and heights and different dimensions and air volume. And along the way, we realized that exhaust fans slowed down the air escaping from, because we pressurized the heat aisle. And so like we would make all these mistakes and then like take notes, and then make mistakes and take notes and change it and change it and change it. And so like in the early days, we allowed whomever, electrical contractors and or suppliers in the New Orleans area, to kind of dictate how we did things. And then, there's I would always say, just flip all the switches and let's see what happens. And then I would blow transformers up. We're like, maybe we don't do that next time, right? And so as we got smarter, right, or through trial and error, we started identifying the type of parts we needed and the type of components. And then that's where we became mathematicians, right? We were experts at acquiring assets, and the assets are everything from, pad mount transformers to substation transformers to switch gear and everything along the way. And so today, I think the difference is I do tours constantly, right? Every week I tours, right? That's my big thing. Like I want everybody that's in this industry that can get here, that has the opportunity, that doesn't, a lot of people like, oh, they'll text me and they'll be like, hey, I'm a Riot shareholder. And I'm always like, hey, that's awesome. Thank you so much for being a shareholder. But I actually want you to come see it so we inspire you to support the Bitcoin network, right? And it's like a double scoop of ice cream when you say you're a Riot shareholder, right? I get really excited then. And so as we take these people through here, we started learning along the way through making errors, right? Because that's again, mother of all invention, is that we had to start creating a system that was interchangeable. So from our first building, our test lab, our second building in New Orleans, our test facility, our third building in New Orleans, our test facility, to our first building in Rockdale, to our second building, to our third building, Now we have a integrated system. It doesn't matter if it's liquid immersion or air racks, doesn't matter what goes in those buildings, it's universal, right? So we built it so you can plug in 4,000 amp components. Doesn't matter how the component is plugged in, whether it's submerged or on a rack, or maybe a different type of application. And it's because we were trying to figure out how to limit the amount of supplies we needed, right? For inventory, right? How many fuses do you need? How many pad mount transformers do you have to have in stock? We've learned how many break or how many need to be repaired. And it's like, if you don't have them sitting on a shelf, you know, it's kind of funny. So let me sit that, you know, 15,000 pound transformer on a shelf. But if you don't have it sitting, you potentially have a, you know, 4 or 5 week, 8 week, 10 week, 12 week downtime. So those are the kind of things that we learned along the way, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Wow. I would love to visit your facility and just walk in there. I'm sure the people who come in there are probably in awe of the towering shelves of Bitcoin miners going.
So I think so before when we had no pictures, right? So early on, of the 4 of us, and we had 2 German partners, we sold the business. We sold the business in 2019 to raise money so we could continue to build. We originally raised the money. It wasn't enough. We needed more money. So we thought the idea was we would just sell it and then work for that company, get the capital, and then continue to grow it. And as the world works out, last year about this time, maybe it was September, I think, I had this company with the name Riot blockchain walk through our doors, potentially to be a customer. And it just like, they sat across the table from us, and Megan Brooks, the COO, and she's there, and Jeff, the CFO, or at that time Jeff was the CEO, and we're sitting there, and I literally, like, they left, and I told Lyle and Ashton and David, I looked at them and I was like, hey, these guys are just like us. Like, they're just like us. And then shortly after that, I made a phone call because they had their banker with them. And I was like, hey, I don't know if it's possible, but I think you guys should buy this company. Right. And then so they worked really hard and you know, spent almost, I think, like 8 months. It took them, but they were able to acquire this business. And when you kind of look at the reasoning behind it, right, is exactly what you're saying. Like, you want to come in and see the scale of it. Is that in order to build these facilities, there's a couple of things you need. You need a team of mercenaries. That's what I call us, right? You need guys that, you know, engineers, designers, builders, and of course there's no roadmap.
Sure.
There's no roadmap in any of it, so you have to make it up along the way, right? And it's like, hey, let's use reasoning to solve all these problems. And then you need a team of people that are well capitalized, that have all the reporting, the structure, and the governance, right? And so when you take like that organization and then take an organization of the executors, right, to build and you smash them together, you end up with Riot's Whinstone data center, right? And so what happens is that through them coming here, through them wanting to see it, through them experiencing it, and they're like, oh, pictures don't do this place justice. You know, like, someone was here yesterday on a tour and they just looked at me and they're like, I mean, I've seen your videos. It's nothing like this. And really, I'll be honest with you, every time I hear it, I get more pumped, right? Like, every time somebody calls me or says, man, that was so awesome. Last week on Friday, we had a tour of somebody that missed a tour. Like, there was Riot had a shareholders day and they missed it. And so I said, oh, just come, I'll give you a tour. And the guy sent me a video message. And after that video message, I thought I could go flip the buildings over, right? Like, I was so excited after that because, like, I felt like we connected. And I think that's our big thing. You know, having these two groups come together, there's so much transparency in, like, our messaging and, like, just, you know, I mean, you see it right now. Like, I'm jacked, right? I'm excited to talk to you about this. And it's such a great opportunity to help like support the Bitcoin network, really, like at the end of the day.
For sure. Now, goes without saying, you're in Texas, lots of heat. How many units do you have, and how do you keep them cool? You mentioned submersion. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so you have a couple of different things, right? So I think the first thing that you have to think of is, while there might be heat here, it's nothing like New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So we built our entire test facility inside of 3 warehouses with no external air intakes.
Wow.
Right. So, New Orleans in the summer is, besides that it's a, 90% humidity, it's also 90 degrees or plus. And so, and that was our struggle, because in the first building that we had, it was my office, and it had a 12,000 square foot warehouse. And so we're like, oh, well, we'll use this. Well, it also had no air intakes. We had no way to get air to it, right? And so we were like, hey, if we can keep the miners running in this building, we can do this anywhere. And so basically what we have is, our racking system is 20 feet tall, right? Our top of our building is 24. Our heat aisle, so we have a heat containment aisle, and that heat containment aisle is about 10 or 12 feet wide, and it goes all the way up. And so we capture the heat, we suck the heat into the heat aisle, obviously from the cool aisle, where the miner intakes it through the fan, and then it exhausts through the roof. And our roofs, you can look online, but they're like standard chicken coop, right? But the difference is, the chicken coop is 12 feet wide and 10 feet tall, and it's engineered that way to have enough room for the air to move and then to swirl around the top to create almost like a vacuum. We use no intake fans here. We use no exhaust fans. And we have a 12-foot water wall, evaporative cooling wall, that goes around the outside of the building. Wow. which is kind of unique. Our new buildings that we're building, so we have 2 new air buildings that we're building, and 2 liquid immersion buildings that we're building. The 2 air buildings now have 20-foot evaporative cooling walls, because we realized that there's no point in putting a wall, right? Like, just run the filters all the way up and run water through them, and it makes it a little bit easier. And then in the immersion buildings, each one of those buildings is 100 megawatts, and it's all a design system that we worked together with a partner and built our own bus. And I mean, it's going to be spectacular. I can't wait for those videos to start coming out.
Oh man, that's so cool. I have to come down and see you guys.
Yeah. What are you waiting for? Come on right now. Hop on a plane.
I gotta check with the boss, my wife, and just
yeah, there you go. Bring her too. Come
on. So a question about what type of electricity are you using? I know a lot of miners have been moving to renewable energy. Obviously, we have the Bitcoin Mining Council. Are you guys part of that? So 2 questions: what type of energy, and as well as, are you part of the Bitcoin Mining Council?
Yeah. So let's talk about energy, right? Let's talk about it in a couple of different components, right? So let's talk about this. There's this myth out. There's a myth, right? There's a myth about electricity, and there's a myth about Bitcoin mining, and there's a myth about where the future is going with Bitcoin mining. And so in Texas, 90% of Texas is in the ERCOT grid, right? So it's super duper simple. You can Google ERCOT fact sheet, and you can find out all the details about how energy works in Texas, right? It's a great little fact sheet. It tells you how many megawatts, tells you how much power, how the power is used, the total number of customers, all those things, number of generators. But I think what's the most important is it tells you the breakdown of power. Tells you what the power factor is, right? And so currently, I looked at October's yesterday, the day before, and we are at almost 32.5% renewable power, right? Whether it's wind, solar, nuclear, biomass, and then some others, which tells you that the bulk majority of it is natural gas, and the balance of it is still coal. There's still some coal plants here, but I think the number is now fallen under, it's at 13% or under, which is a great if you go back 2 years or 3 years, you're seeing that number just like get chopped down.
Yeah.
So the whole like using power and renewables, right? Like Bitcoin mining and renewables is great, but our industry for electricity still isn't there. There's not enough battery storage. There are times at which wind is most abundant at night, not during the day, and solar is most abundant during the day. But there's this crossover of 3 and 4 hours at a time that those two things don't work.
Sure.
Right? So one doesn't work with the other. So you have to have a long-term power contract no matter what, right? So if you were next to a solar farm and you tied in behind the meter, you still need the power contract to be able to run 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there's this, I've heard like 3 or 4 fellow, large scale miners talk about supporting the grid from behind the meter, right? So they're not connected to the grid, but that's like unplugging your vacuum. Your vacuum doesn't work if you unplug it from the wall, right? Well, you might be able to plug it into a battery, but you're not plugged into the electricity or the electrical grid. And so basically what happens is that how Bitcoin mining is the most resourceful battery or virtual power plant. I talk about it being a virtual power plant all the time, is that in 5 seconds, I literally can walk into the next building, click a mouse button, and shut all the power off to this entire facility. Like, click. Why is that important? It's because my power contract, I still have the power. It's still mine, but I'm able to offload it into the grid. And so important components of that are when the grid's under stress. Yes, price might change where it becomes beneficial for us to do that. But when Bitcoin is in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 40s, it's not so beneficial. When it's in 10,000, absolutely it's beneficial. But last year, like we haven't turned off to sell power like we used to. Like when we first started, we sold power because it hit $9,000, but it doesn't. It needs to be $6,000 for us to turn the power off, and now there's a cap, right? So that isn't a thing. One of the other components that's really important, how Bitcoin mining actually helps the grid, is through ancillary services, right? So there's a component called controlled load response. And in controlled load response, I'm happy to say that Whinstone is the largest controlled load response Bitcoin miner in the state of Texas. And we're one of 2. There's only 2 of them. And Whinstone's one of them. And of course, they were the largest, so we might as well be the largest as well. And so we have a great partner that we work with, Lancium. They have great smart response software. We've been working with them from the day that we started working on this facility, getting it to work, right? And it's not as easy as people think it is. It's not like, oh, you just load it into your computer and play the song. It's much more difficult than that. But because of those things, I think it was a month ago, on a Friday, there was a 645 megawatt generator that went down, and we instantly saw our site support that load. The next day, another one happened, 800 megawatts. Our site supported that load, and it's exactly what these facilities are designed to do. And you can't have it unless you build the infrastructure, right? Like if you don't build the infrastructure, this doesn't exist. And so the infrastructure is such a massive expense, right? It's a massive expense that if you don't do it, you can't support it. And that's the only way you can mine. It's like this crazy thing. Like, I read all these press releases, right? And I'm kind of sarcastic when I make this next statement, right? So please keep it in, right? This is the best statement I will make all day. It's super duper easy to be a press release hero, right? Anybody can write a press release. Anybody can buy something. Anybody can make an announcement, but I can promise you, it's extremely difficult to execute on those things and deliver. I'm happy to say the first time we built this facility, we delivered in 183 days.
Wow.
I didn't know it was a thing. right? Like I didn't know that was some accomplishment. I was like, God, I needed it to be like 3 months ago, right? And guys are like, this should have taken you like 18 months because we had to build our transmission and all those things. And so currently today, right, like I made a video yesterday and I was all excited because there were green lights in our power control distribution center, which is in the substation. I was like, I saw green lights. I know what green lights mean. Green lights mean they're in there testing it because we're getting close. And we're getting close to being able to energize our new substation. And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to beat my last time, right? So those things to make these facilities happen are critical infrastructure to the Bitcoin network. And I hear a lot of, I hear two sides of the story. I hear large scale miners saying you don't need to build infrastructure. And I'm like, well, where are you going to put your miners? And they're like, oh, we're going to put them at hosters. And I'm like, don't hosters have to build the infrastructure? Like it's just like it's a funny story, right?
Yeah.
And so then also, your second question about the Bitcoin Council, right? And so Riot's a advocate, right? They have some other programs that they're working on as well. And a lot of times, when you reached out to me originally, you sent the email and I was like, hey, you can ask tons of guys those questions, right? I'm really an infrastructure guy and we joke all the time. So Jason Less, the CEO of Riot, he and I will be in the same room at the same time, like at a meeting, and they'll start talking about, somebody will ask a question about Bitcoin. I'm like, so Jason, what do you think about that? And then Jason takes it and then they'll like, what about electricity? And they're like, hey, Chad, what's your opinion on like, because that's why the marriage works so well, right? Like they're experts at one thing and we're experts at another.
Got it. That totally makes sense. I'm curious about the mining that you guys are doing. Are you renting out mining capacity to like other businesses or companies that want to get involved?
So we have two institutional grade clients that are here, and then also Riot is onboarding miners constantly. We're constantly onboarding new miners here at the facility, putting all the new S19s in. Our building A is our original client, and to this day, they have been exceptional partners. Like we owe them, the four of us, David Schatz, Lyle Terrio, Ashton Harris, and myself, owe them everything, right? We owe them everything. They're the only reason we got here. And they know it, right? They're wonderful people. We have a great relationship. And we went out on the bandwagon to raise money. And when we got a term sheet, we brought them the term sheet and said, hey, I told you I could do it. And they're like, no problem, we'll loan you the money instead. Like they've been such exceptional partners. And so they're in our first building. And we kind of pride ourselves. Each one of our buildings are over 60,000 square feet. And in that first building, we deployed 64,000 miners in that building. Wow. And we believe it's the first that's been done, right? Like we don't know because we can't find out because no one's out there telling us, but we're excited. Like, hey, at a 1,000-foot building, we put 64,000 S9s in it. And you go in there and it's just obnoxiously loud, yeah. Right. And it's so funny because then you go in building B, building B has got, Riot has all their S19s in there. And you walk in there and it's like, it's so quiet, right? It's like something's not natural. You go back into A and you're like, oh yeah, I need earplugs. You go back into B and you're like, oh, it's pretty pleasant in here.
Are you able to give the names of the institutions? And it's okay if you can't, but I'm just curious who's participating.
So I can't, but one of our clients has just filed a file to go public.
Wow. Now I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, Riot is public, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So Riot blockchain is traded on NASDAQ under the sign Riot, $ in front of it, Riot. And it's led by an incredible team, like Jason Less, CEO, Bitcoin brain, right? Like we joke, right? Like I'm like, the way you talk about Bitcoin is like how I talk about power, right? And so, but this great team, great organization, you know, from the executive chairman all the way down. And then I work almost every day. So here in Texas, you know, we just opened an office in Austin. So we have a Riot team there.
Very
And
cool.
then, so I spent a lot of time working like daily phone calls with Megan Brooks, right? So Megan Brooks is the COO, and we spend the most time together because we're, you know, 45 minutes away from one another, right? So she comes here or I go there, and strategy, making sure, you know, she makes sure that we're compliant, right? And I make sure that we just go faster, right? That's like pour gas in the tank. I'm going to press the fast pedal all day long.
Right, making sure all the gears work and all that.
Yeah, that's my gig. Absolutely.
I'm curious if you have any statistics you could share as far as how much Bitcoin you're mining, maybe per day, per week, per month, any of those respective cadence.
Yeah, that's a really, really tough question to answer. I can tell you, you know, like Riot, like post theirs every month. I believe last month it was 464, which was another record month. And I would completely expect it to happen again, right? I would suspect that we'd be mining more. You know, we're obviously doing it actively here. But as far as I actually don't know what the customers mine. It's probably best.
Oh, right, because it's segmented out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my next question would be, and this is something I've read about, where a lot of miners are hodling. They're not selling their Bitcoin. Are you guys doing something similar? You know, obviously your client's separate, of course. Is that something you guys are doing as well?
Yeah. So Riot does hold all their Bitcoin. I believe I think currently right now we have 3,995, or maybe it's 3,959. It's, you know, it's one of those really close numbers, but just about 4,000 as of last posting. So it would have been for last month that they're holding, which is great. You know, I'm a big believer in it. And that's the plan going forward at this time, you know.
Could you share the thought process there? And I'm generally asking because I'm curious, is it waiting for the higher prices because this asset is appreciating so fast? And obviously we're still early. Is that kind of the thought process behind it?
So, you know, I can't actually, like, this isn't a good question to ask me. The only reason why I say it that way is because they, as a company, we're believers in Bitcoin. Therefore, we hold it. Right? Like, I mean, that's the easy answer, but that's just, you know, I'm not the right person to ask.
Got it.
Like, Jason's the one to ask. Jason will give you a dissertation on it, like 19 different reasons why, and spreadsheets will come out and all those things. But as a company, we're believers in Bitcoin. We believe in supporting the network. We believe in the growth. And so we're holding it.
So talk to me about like your plans to expand or what's on the roadmap from an infrastructure standpoint. Are you planning to add more miners, maybe go to other states as well, position yourselves across the United States or North America?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I'm going to start it with a different answer, right? Because I'm good at that. I'm good at giving you a different answer, right? Like I did all through school when I was a kid. That was my best thing I ever did. No. So I think the way you have to think about our strategy, right? So our strategy when we came here, of course, you know, I read that article, and in that article, it talked about how the leading manufacturer of the product didn't do what they said, right? They didn't create the jobs, they didn't do whatever. And so when I came into this, I remember the day the economic development department looked at me and said, do not say a single thing unless you're going to do it. Don't tell us you're going to come here and create jobs if you don't. Don't tell us you're going to help us. Don't tell us you're going to grow our economy. We don't want to hear it because we don't believe you. I was like, no problem. Well, the difference is I'm super stubborn. And if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to do it times 10. And so I like took that to heart. Right. And when we broke ground, I mean, like I'm the one that gave the speech, and the speech was, we will be good corporate citizens. And to this day, we're good corporate citizens. And to be a good corporate citizen, you in this industry, you have to donate a lot, right? And so, you know, I'm super proud of a lot of the things we've done. You know, Rockdale never had a swim team, right? And they came to me and said, hey, we had 84 kids sign up to be on a swim team, but we don't have the starting blocks, we don't have lane markers, we don't have any of those things. And so we donated those things, and then obviously it got shut down by COVID. And so then this past year, I was like, well, I'll just send the same amount of money. I'm sure they need some more stuff, right? But they started the swim team, and you know, David Schatz, like all of us are dog fanatics, but David is more of a dog fanatic than all of us. And we have 6 dogs in the office here. And David and our staff members went and rebuilt the entire animal shelter because it was in just disrepair, and made new kennels and automatic dog watering bowls and put air conditioning in. I mean, like, I don't mean just like redid it, like redid it. And it's those types of things that you have to do in these small communities. There's 5,500 people here.
Oh, wow.
Right? So if you want 5,500 people when you go to get coffee in the morning at the gas station, because that's where you get coffee, right? If you want them to be like, hey, Whinstone really did do it. They really did create the jobs, and we did. They really did support the community, and we did. And we do every day. You know, probably my most favorite thing we did is there's a school in Milano, Texas, which is in Milam County. It's just next to Rockdale, that has 432 children that attend it. The town only has 450, right? So they bus kids in. So and it's a great school. It's a great environment. You go in there and it's really nice. And the teachers are super attentive. And I remember them calling and saying, hey, could we talk to you about a donation? And I went over and I met with the director of sports, right? And as I sat and I'm talking to her, and the coach is telling me, she's like, hey, we have this problem. The parents don't get to see their kids play sports. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, what's the problem? And she said, we don't have lights, any lights. And so we have to play the games, you know, whether it's softball, whatever, softball, baseball, all the outdoor games, we have to play them during school or right after school. And parents just can't get here at 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, so what's the problem? And she hands me the proposal. And the craziest part about the proposal on that day is I was coming close to running out of money, and I needed $20 million the next day.
Wow.
Right? And she hands me this proposal, and it's like $160,000. And I look at it and I'm thinking to myself, you are about to say something that you're going to deeply regret. Me personally, inside of my head, I was like, yep, no problem. I'll take care of it. Because on that day, I knew that my problem I could solve, right? But like, they've been trying for like 15 years to do it. And so, you know, it takes us a year, because I mean, these just weren't lights. I didn't know what I was buying, right? But let me tell you, I bought the most like state-of-the-art NCAA college stadium lights, and it's wicked. And so they invite me out, they have this big event, like there's like 500 people show up, and they're trying to raise money, and the different softball teams are playing one another, and I get to turn the lights on. And I told them, I was like, hey, you know, if you raise any money, come talk to me, tell me how much it is, and maybe I'll do the lights on the next field, because they had one more field. They're like, okay, no problem. Now listen, they were selling cupcakes and chicken dinners, right? So just, I want you to take that in consideration. So then they come about 2 weeks later, they show up my office, and they're like, hey, we want to let you know how much we raised. I am waiting for them to say $2,000 or $3,000. She's like, we raised $31,000 that night. And I was like, no problem. I will do the next lights. Just like I said, I'll do the next field. And so I ordered them. And I was like, but you have to do me a favor. You have to take that $31,000 and you have to go spend it on something else that school needs. because we don't need it. Like it, but I saw that day that we could change that place for years to come. Yep. And I think that the message for me, like to anyone that listens to this, that any of these guys that are building facilities or, you know, in communities trying to do the same thing, man, go change people's lives. You have the ability to do it. This is a profitable business, right? Go, don't be gracious to others, right? Just be gracious. And so I lead into the next part. Because of that, I know that in the future, in the event that we go to another location, I know that I will be able to walk into any community and I'll be able to have a letter from the judge and a letter from the community and a letter from the business district. And I'll be able to walk into the next community and say, hi, I'm here. I'm going to build another facility, and I'll hand them all that. And it'll be a different experience for us. And that's what I think that is important. And I give all recognition to Peter Wall from Argo, right? He has done the same thing. He went to Dickinson County, and I saw a video the other day. I met him for the first time, 2 months ago, but I saw a video the other day, and he's restoring the community pool, which had like trees growing in it, right? We as a group, right? While we might be competitors at heart, right? We might be competitors at heart, but we are all, we're all in this business because of the freedom that it allows us to have, right? And that freedom allows us to go into these small communities and literally change people's lives, And so I think that's really important. And then the third part to your question, because, of course I answer them crazy, right? Is I'll answer it like this. I bought 1.2 gigawatts worth of equipment. I bought it when everyone was not paying attention and Bitcoin was $14,000. And while everyone was, buying miners, I was like, I'm going to keep buying infrastructure. Now, granted, I didn't have the money to pay for it. Let's be clear, right? Like I was gambling with expensive money, right? Because I was gonna have to pay for it someday. But prior to Riot acquiring us, I was buying infrastructure. And so, I'm finishing 700. And so hopefully, here in the future, I'll find the next place and I'll go do it again, maybe the next place and do it again. But if we were going anywhere, we would stay right here in the great state of Texas.
That's awesome. And I love the work you guys are doing in the communities and helping the folks around there, because this new emerging industry, I think folks need to see the impact as well, jobs and revenue creation and all that good stuff. I wanted to ask about security, because as a Bitcoin miner, I'm certain you have a target on your back. And everybody's looking and like, okay, let's go see what we can do here, right? People who are trying to do bad things, of course. How do you guys protect the facility and as well as the Bitcoin you're mining? Is that going to some sort of cold storage and as much as you can?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Texas is a unique place, right? You can carry guns here, right? But let me tell you what you can't do in Texas. You can't say security unless you're a licensed security company. So like the core values of Whinstone should be, okay, we don't know how to solve it, so let's just go start another company, right? That should be like our motto, like, oh, we don't know how to solve it, we'll just start another company. And so when we came here originally, we realized we needed security. And then when we were like, oh, we'll just hire people, then we learned that, well, you can't hire security officers if you're not licensed because they will lose their license. So we're like, hey, Dave, I think it's time for you to become, let's start a security company. So Whinstone is actually, we have Whinstone Security. It's a level 3 security company licensed in the state of Texas. We actually can shoot you, right? Like we actually can shoot you, right? I do joke about it, but so we have, I believe, 17 full-time security guards, and Dave tells me we pay more than anyone to hire them, right? Like we have people come here because of our gracious value that we know that their value to us is you can't put a number on it. And by paying high wages, providing healthcare, 401ks, and treating people kindly, we are fortunate enough that company-wide between Riot and Whinstone, we have just over 160 full-time W-2 employees that aren't construction jobs. These are actually like day in and day out jobs for people that do, like everything you can imagine, we do ourselves. And so we started our own trash business because, I always joke, if you want to know the truth about a Bitcoin miner, ask him what he does with his trash. Because let me tell you, if you have 100,000 boxes, you have 100,000 miners, you have 400,000 pieces of trash. There's a static bag, 2 pieces of foam, and a cardboard box. And let me tell you, that is an incredible amount of trash to get rid of, And so we started the whole security company out of we didn't know what to do. And it's actually turned into a great thing. We've hired security consulting firms to come in and help identify targets and problems and risk with employees. And then when I use the word risk with employees, I mean, somebody's upset, and then how to de-escalate the problem, and then how to identify those problems, and then incorporate HR for guidance. And when I use the word HR, I mean not in a negative way. I mean hey, what do we need to sit down and talk about? How do we work through these problems? Is it training? Is it moving to a new department? Those kind of things. Because I think people, and also another thing in small communities, you can't just, you actually have to work through your problems, because you have a smaller workforce to contend with, right? And because of that type of behavior and culture that we have here, is that it really works well. Like our security blends in with everything that we do. We track every employee that comes in and out. You sign in and out. You scan in and out. Every vendor guest, every single guest. You sign NDAs. You can't get through the front gate. You can't get around. You can't get in here. And if you do get in here, we're going to find you, right? There's cameras everywhere. We have, like I said, we have dogs, right? And so it is quite a secure place.
Wow.
And then you were asking maybe network security, right?
Yeah, like cold storage for Bitcoins that you mine.
Yeah, so we're going to skip that topic today. No, only because so it's interesting. You asked me the question do I hold any Bitcoin left, right? So hey, no, I sold it all, right? That's how we got here, and it's funny because since then I truly don't think about it, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, did you see the price of Bitcoin? I'm like, oh no, what is it? What do you mean? And I was like, hey, I'm so wrapped up in buying power and building that it's that's somebody else's job, right? And so when it comes to storage and those types of things, those miners have got all kinds of, you put the little thing in there and you hit the button and off you go, right?
For sure. Man, I want to ask you too about, and this is kind of a macro level view and just what's been happening globally. Obviously, China banned Bitcoin miners. It seemed like the millionth time they're banning something. The miners disperse, go to different parts of the world, which I think is great for Bitcoin decentralization of the hash rate. A lot of them came to the United States. And there seems to be a boom happening here. And despite some folks like Elizabeth Warren, some of these crazy politicians talking negatively about crypto, Bitcoin mining is flourishing and you're in the forefront of that. What can you tell us about that? Have you encountered any regulation issues? I know there hasn't been much mention about Bitcoin specifically, but can you tell us about what you're seeing globally and in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the easiest way to describe it, right? So it's like 7 p.m. Lyle and I are still here at the office one night. Security calls and says, "Hey, there's 4 guys at the gate that they don't speak English." It's like, we're like, huh? Well, we'll come up there, right? It's 4 Chinese guys. Had a picture of the site. We're like, and they were like telling us, right? Then so they eventually start translating, and they're like, we want to come here. And I was like, hey, that's great that you might want to come here. We don't have any capacity.
Wow.
Right? Like we don't have any capacity. And I think the real message is that while these miners might be disbanding, right? You read all the press releases about, all the different people that are coming here, right? They're disbanding every day. I would tell you that there might be small amounts that are coming, like that can be deployed. There's not any capacity in the United States, right? There's no, like you can go read Core will say it, Core's, great company, super transparent, provide data, and they'll say they'll match the same thing, right? Like all the guys that are like really building that like have got real skin in the game, like, hey, we've invested hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Like you start saying, well, there isn't any capacity, right? And if there is capacity, it's in small amounts. And the problem that we saw as a company is that they want short-term contracts, right? And the risk is too great, right? Short-term contracts, the risk is too great. In order for this business to be, if you think about this from a hosting component, in order for a hosting business to be profitable, you need long-term partners that buy into the value of your business, not what the price is, not what you're going to charge them, the value of your business. What value do you bring to them? Well, the value is infrastructure, right? Infrastructure, you're fair. When you argue fairly. And I think that's maybe the biggest thing that I saw. And we've had the guys from Kazakhstan come. You name it, they have come to our gate.
Wow.
We're like, hey, we don't have any capacity. And we all and on top of that, like as a company, prior to all of this, we had decided, hey, we need a US company, like it needs to be formed, structured in the US, it needs to be licensed in the state of Texas, and it needs to be US banking. Like after that, like awesome, let's start there, right? Because our goal is to create the largest network in North America, the largest infrastructure in North America. And to do that, we really need to support one another. And most of these people we're supporting are North American Bitcoin miners.
Wow. Chad, I need to come down there and see the facility. It's talking to you. I'm excited. I want to go see.
Tomorrow. Come on. Come on. Come
I'll
on.
definitely have to plan something. But man, you guys are doing some great stuff there. I love what you're building. And thank you so much for sharing the story and the ins and outs and how this works. So I appreciate you joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. And I tell you, sorry about me and my jumping around, but like I'm so excited about this stuff, right? I love, if you can't tell, I love what I do.
Yeah.
And I love what I do. I love the opportunity. I love talking to people about how we're building. And again, come tomorrow, right? Come tomorrow, and I promise you, bring your camera and your video recorder, because I'll bring in the heat aisle. We'll do push-ups until one of us falls, right?
Well, I got to lose some pounds, so yeah, that'll help.
Yeah, there you go. Well, there's 150 degrees will help that, right?
Before I let you go, I do have my quick rapid fire questions so folks can get
absolutely.
Favorite food.
Favorite food. It would happen to be Wagyu steak.
Ooh, such a musician or band. Favorite musician or band.
Ooh, it's going to be anything that goes right. So I'm a huge techno music guy, and I joke about it in my videos. I used to say it's volume 10 all day long. Yeah, actually it's volume 30, but volume 10 just seems more fair.
Awesome. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I'm gonna have to tell you, Wedding Crashers.
Good one.
I think I watched it like 30 times.
Yeah, it's like one of those movies. If it's on, you just
Yeah, you just keep watching it. You're like, oh, I could do that. I could do that, right?
For sure. Favorite book?
Favorite book. I read 4 Hour Work Week for 4 hours one day, and it just didn't resonate with me. But I am a blog reader, and I read tons of snippets of blogs because I have an attention span problem.
Well, I think a lot of people now, you can get a lot of the content and books online in chunks, right? And
yeah, that's my big thing, is like, oh, hey, I just want to read about this section, right? So I read every day, and it's funny, like I read whatever I want to learn that day, like, oh, hey, what do I want to know about? I grew up in a house with 2 young kids that their favorite show was the History Station. Right, like, and they're like factoids, but there's a ton of different, like, I can't think of, if you ask me that question, like nobody ever asked me a question about a book, right? But it really is, I'm like a big blog reader. I'm like a news guy, blog reader. I don't watch it, I read it, because I won't watch it.
And finally, when you're not at Riot Whinstone, the location they're building, what are you doing for fun as a hobby?
Man, so this is the other reason why I love Rockdale, Texas. There's 800 miles of dirt roads here.
Wow.
Right? So I raced bicycles when I was younger, and I have a gravel bike, right? So I have this gravel bike, and I actually make time-lapse videos every day when I ride it. And I just literally, I ride for 50 or 60 miles. I don't see a human. Wow. Now I do see deer and pigs and cows and all that, but it's just, that's my big thing, is like, I'm out on a bicycle.
Oh, that must be nice, just to get away.
Yeah.
Get
away. I turn my phone off, I turn my radio on, and just call somebody when I get broken down. Right.
Chad, pleasure chatting with you, man. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.